creative editing. In this video I'm going to show you how this image here was created using 4 other images. One of the layers in the image itself was created in Photoshop and I'll put a link to that layer below if you want to try this tutorial for yourself. It's quite a long tutorial, so hopefully you'll stick with it to see it right through to the end. If you don't, feel free to skip through it to get to the end. But I have all your requests at the end of the video which I'd like you guys to perhaps participate in. But as this is a long video, without further ado, let's dive right in. Okay, what we're going to do with this one, we have to set this up first. So we have to think about this one, we work backwards with this one. For me, I'm used to Photoshop, and so you program in your head how you should do things. With Luminar, we're not doing anything different, because if you've never used Photoshop, this is the way to do it in Luminar. So the first thing we are going to do is we're going to create the shadow in the road. So I'm going to go into the Pro panel and I'm going to go for an adjustable gradient, go into the bottom, and I'm going to pull the exposure right down, say to about there. Then I'm going to set the orientation of the gradient. So this is us, we are deciding roughly in our image where the gradient's to start from. And this is going to be the clip in the road, where the road comes along and then drops down. So I'm just adjusting this to where I'd be happiest with it. So I'm going to take the exposure right down to about there. So you can see the line, but yet you can still see the perspective showing. It's the next 2 stages that show you how to drop away the perspective with this. I'm also going to pull the shadows down slightly and also the highlights, just to kind of kill that there. Right. Quite happy with that. I can move it at a later time, but I'm quite happy with that just now. So that's me with this image. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to add a new image layer. And the new image layer again is this road. So I'm going to click that and click open. And it will drop in, and you see that the gradient we've added there, which is in this layer here, has disappeared. I'm going to turn the opacity down so that we can work with this. You'll see some of the gradient coming back through. Next thing, I'm going to go layer transform. And I'm going to rotate the layer. Just to around, I'm going to go that way with this one, to around there. And then hopefully with what I've just done, you can see how we're going to build this up. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to expand the size of this totally until I am happy to about there, and I'll rotate even further. So I'm always watching this edge here, and I can see that the cross there and there is just about right. It's roughly about the same width, and we'll make it about there. I'm going to click done. I am then going to turn that layer off. And what I'm going to do is go back to this layer, and then I'm going to add a new adjustment layer. Sorry, a new image layer. And again, I'm going to grab that one there, click open, it will drop on top, and I'm going to go through the same process again. So what I'm going to do is drop the opacity so that I can see the underlying layer, and then go layer transform. And rotate it this way this time, to about there. Take the size up to about there, and move this. Again, I'm always watching where those meet. That actually looks okay there. So I'll go for about around that area there, and I'm going to click done. The next thing I'm going to do, I need to get rid of everything here except for these lines, right? And for the purposes of this video, I won't rush through it, but I won't be as accurate as I would be in the finished image, just to show you how all this comes together. So the first thing I'm going to do is edit mask. I'm going to use a brush, and I'm going to use the paint option. So when I use the paint option, it already creates a mask. So what it does with the paint option, it creates a hide all mask, and I paint in the areas that I want to see. So I'm going to take the brush size down, and I'm just going to paint from there, and then paint in the edge. And the reason you can see this line here is because the image opacity is down. So I'm just going to go there. I'm quite happy with that, what I can see so far. I'm now going to go to erase. Softness is at 100. I'm going to take that down slightly and just paint away what I don't want to see. So you can see how we're creating the false perspective in this and the drop of the road. As I say, I'm not going to be too accurate with this because I'd rather show you how the image comes together than show you accuracy with this one. And I'm going to go to paint. I'm going to paint in back in there. Take the brush size down, and I'm just going to paint there. And I'm not too worried about that because that actually allows these to come off and down there as well. So that's that layer done. I'm quite happy with that one. Oh, press X takes you back from paint to erase and vice versa. So I'm going to leave that one at that. I'm going to go into this top layer here, and I'm going to repeat the process. So I take the image opacity up to 100, edit mask, brush, I choose paint, and for this I'm going to take the softness back up to 100%, and I am just going to paint here. So there we go. So you can see how this is building up very, very quickly, or relatively quickly for this. And I'm going to paint that to there because, as you notice, I've missed a tiny bit there. So I'm going to actually paint beyond just to show you, if that happens, what to do. Right, if I go into layer transform now, I can move that down to there, and it's covered it. So that's me, I've taken care of that. Click done. I then go in here and erase out the areas. So I choose erase, and I just paint very gently there. I'll take the softness down to about 48 and just paint there. So we're just looking for a nice wee blend. So there we go. That's the road going to drop away there. I'll paint that back in just a tiny bit there. As I say, when you're doing this, if you're going to try this, the images will be linked below and you can go and get them. And I'm going to go erase, and I'm going to take out the light area there. And just in there. It's a little too much. So I'll go back and then X again in the keyboard and take these back. So as you can see what I'm doing, you can see how this image is going to build up and build up and build up. Still doesn't look dark because we have the light edge of the road there, the white lines of the road, and then white down there. We deal with them last. So we're only building up the image just now. Right, so that's us. I'm quite happy with that. I quite like the look of that. I'm not going to be too pernickety with it for the purposes of this video. So the next thing I am going to do is I'm going to make a stamped image layer from that. Quite happy. And then I'm going to do that. Right, okay, now that we have the stamped layer, for me, just for the sake of RAM on this, I am going to delete that layer, and then I'm going to delete this layer. So we are now working with two layers, which is the first layer that we brought in, the image we brought in, and now the stamped layer with these new bits in it. So next thing, we need to bring in the city in the background. So again, add new image layer. And this is the city. That will drop in and conform to the aspect ratio that's there. We don't want it to be like that. We want to stretch it out and make it fill the horizon line. So first things first, layer transform. And I'm going to push that up beyond the horizon so that I can see it. For me, I didn't want these buildings here in it, and I didn't want the water in it, so you'll see that I'll drag this down eventually. So I'm going to pull that down to about there and drag it out to about, say, there. And the same with this side, so that there's no water in it. and I'm going to drag it down a tiny bit further, just to around there. Right, I'm going to click done. With this layer again, it's masked. So what I am going to do is I'm going to edit the mask, but this time I'm going to use a gradient. And I'm going to drag from about there down to, say there, and then I'm going to bring in the gradient so that it intensifies everything that's going on down here. I'm going to drag that up as well. I could have brushed this in, I'm just showing you with the gradient. Take that down to there, bring that down there. I'm going to bring this in even closer actually, just to there, and I'll bring that in. So you see that's us now dropped the sky in, or the sky and the background with this one. You can see there's a slight haze there. We're going to work with that haze in a little while. So I'll take that just beyond the horizon line. For me, that's working okay. There's a couple of things going on here, but I'm going to click Edit Mask, then I'm going to zoom in, Command and plus for me, then I'm going to Edit Mask again, and I'm going to take the brush this time, zoom back out, and this is where it does get a little bit fiddly. I'm going to choose Erase. My softness I am going to take up to around 86, and I am going to be painting in here. Right, so as you can see that it's actually working, you'll see it begin to go over the road. And just take my time along here. We'll deal with all this later, so don't worry about it, and don't worry about the bleed that it has on here. If I want to paint that back in, X in the keyboard reverses it to paint. And I just paint that back in, and you'll see that the soft edge helps blend it against the horizon line. So we've got that there. There's a couple of cars here. I'm going to press X just to see where they are. There they are there. Right, I'm going to leave that at that. He says, and then I'm going to paint out some more here. And then paint back in. So this is me becoming a little bit pernickety with this, but at the same time it's worth taking your time when you're doing these. It makes it more exciting when you're doing them. For the purposes of this video, I'll leave it at that just now. I'm going to zoom back out, Command and 0. I'm working on a Mac, so it's Command and 0 for this. So far we have this, and that's us added one background, the main image, which is the road, and then this image here again, which is the road, and we've brought them round, twisted them and made them vertical, and we've put a gradient in to start with. So again, quite happy with that so far. What we are going to do now is add the person sitting. So if I go add new image layer, and I choose this image here, and that is actually okay at that, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to reduce the opacity so that we can see what we're working with, and then I'm going to go layer transform, and I'm going to move him up to sitting on the road, because now that I have created the shadow here, I know where I want him to sit, so I can sit him there. Luckily he's sitting right in the edge of this building. I'm also going to lock the aspect ratio and increase the size of him. So if I do that, drag that down, and then move him up into place, just to see there. No, need him a tiny bit bigger, just for the compositional elements in this, and take him to about there. So there you'll see he's a slightly bit bigger than the original image that I created for this video, but what you're seeing just now is how the creation came about. So I'm going to go there. I'm going to click done. I'm also going to take the image opacity back up. What I'm going to do now is I am going to edit the mask using a brush, and I'm going to paint. So as soon as I start painting, what will happen is it will create a hide all mask, and as I paint it will reveal what I need to see. So I'm just going to start here, right, and then take it up there, across there, around there. Right, so you can see what we're working with here. Just making sure I've got every part of them in, because the next part I'm going to show you what I'm going to do, and then I'm going to speed through it. So I'll speed up the video so that you're not watching every bit of this process. We need to remove any of the metal in the background, and this is how we're going to do it. The softness of the brush, you can see that this image isn't the highest res for this, and it doesn't match the background, but it works for this image. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the brush size down. As I say, I'll start this off and then I'll speed up the rest of the edit for you so that you're not watching it. If I go in there and I choose erase and I start painting, right now it's bleeding into some of the hat that's there. So I'm going to take the softness down even further to about 19. I'm going to paint some of that back in, so I'm going to swap to X. I'm going to swap to X and paint some of that back in, like so. Then I am going to go to erase, and I am going to work my way all the way around them. I don't want any haloing or any chromatic aberration to show, and when I get to places like this, I'll have to take the brush size down and then follow everything all the way around. So what I'll do for the remainder of this part of the edit, I'll speed the video up so as that you don't have to watch this. Now that we've got the chap sitting on the edge of the road before the road drops away, I know we have little flaws here, but these can be dealt with if you take your time with the image. What I'm now going to do, as I mentioned, there was a glow in the background here. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to turn off the layer that I just created. And I am going to, that's the new background layer. I am now going to stamp everything, and I don't know why I'm talking like that. I'm now going to stamp everything except for that layer there, so that we can show you how to make that glow in the background. So if I now go create new stamped layer, so that's me get the stamped layer in. And what I'm going to do with the stamped layer is I am going to go into mystical, and I am going to create that look. And then I'm going to push it even further to around there. So you see we've got a slight softening kind of mystical with this. I'm also going to go into lighten, and I'm going to push the exposure slightly so you can see how it's being created now. And although we're doing it with stamped layers, you can see how it's actually being generated with this. So with this stamped layer, if I get back into layers, what I want to do is edit the mask. And I want to use a radial mask here. And I'm going to draw from the centre out to around there. Then I'm going to bring it down to there. And I'm going to increase the size of it out that way. So you can see that that's applied the mystical to around here, but not in the centre. I'm now going to invert it, and it applies it to the centre. So you can see that nice glow that we have. I'm going to drag that a little bit further, and I'm going to take that up just a touch more. So that's the light that was generated, that's the light coming from the city that was generated in the final image. I'm going to click Edit Mask. Then with the chap, once I bring him back in, You can see that that glow is really nice sitting with him. For him, he shouldn't be lit as much as he should. I know it's a composite image, but he shouldn't be lit as much as he should. So the light is coming from behind him. So we're going to darken him down. And how we're going to do that is just with a basic edit. We're going to turn the exposure of him down, just to a nice area around there. I'm going to also push the colour. And I'm going to push it into the yellows just ever so slightly, because we'll have the ambient glow coming round. Quite happy with that so far. There's a little edit in here that you'll notice as there's a straight line down his face. We'll deal with that in a second. I'm going to push the smart contrast slightly, and I'm going to add a tiny bit more yellow to this. And for me, I'm quite happy. So I am going to go back up into layers, and I'm going to get into edit the mask. And I'm going to use the brush, and it's going to be an erase. Softness, I'm going to increase. Brush size, I'm going to decrease, and then I'm going to zoom right in. So see that line there? I am going to soften that line a little more, and I'm actually going to take the brush size up, and I'm just going to do that, just to take the harshness off it. Just to around there. So we're zoomed right in just now at 200%, so you can see there is edges that need touched up and everything. As I say, when you're doing it, take your time doing it. I'm going to zoom back out so you can see how we're getting there with this image, and to be honest, we're not far from the end of this. And I'm going to push the exposure a little bit, and I'm going to push the highlights there slightly. So that says I'm quite happy with how it's looking now. In here, we need this darker because we need him to be darker as well, right? But there's also shadows to be created in this. And how we can do the shadows is if we create a new adjustment layer and we go into Pro mode and we get down to Dodge and Burn. So we're only painting on a certain layer here. We're painting on a transparency, so to speak. And I'm going to go in and I'm going to start painting shadows in here. Right, strength I'm going to take down. I need this to be quite gentle. I'm also going to take the brush size down, and I use this parenthesis keys, which is the square brackets beside the return key. And I'm just going to zoom in a bit. And I'm just going to paint shadows in here. And I'm probably going to turn the strength up a bit for the sake of the video. So if I do that there and then paint in there, take that down to around there, right, so there'll be a shadow across there as well. Take that down. Remembering when you're painting, we can adjust the opacity of the layer once it's done. So I'm going to paint down there, around there. And when you're doing it, take your time with this. I'm also going to bring some of that down there because his foot isn't right against the wall. So that's there, and same with this leg here. So as I say, these won't be as accurate as the original image that you saw, but at least you'll get the idea of what to do. And I'm going to take that one down there as well. And these aren't accurate shadows, they're actually only one tone shadows. Shadows themselves, if you look at any objects, you'll see that the closer it is to a surface, the darker the shadow, the further it goes away, the lighter the shadow gets. The shadows can have many different layers to them, but for the purpose of this, I'm just going to keep it quite simple for this, right? I'll put a small shadow down there as well. That one I might take back out. If I need to take it back out, I can go into Erase and do that, and it's gone. So I'm going to go back into Darken, and I'm just going to create a smaller shadow here. So you can see that we're building up the image piece by piece. Right, and it's just to give it a 3D form as well. Will I put one in there? I may not, because you don't want shadows both sides with this image. Quite happy with that. Looks okay. I'll darken in there just slightly more. Right. If I go into my layers now and I zoom back out, I've created that adjustment layer above him. Remember, I can drag it below him. And any painting that I have done will now sit below him. A couple of bits in that layer that I'm not happy with, like that shadow that I painted in there. So I'll go in there, and if you're wondering why I did it above him, it's so that I could see where I could paint the shadows to. So I'm going to go in and edit the mask. I'm not going to go in and edit the mask. I'm going to get back in to the Pro mode and start painting, and I'm going to choose erase. I'm going to take the brush size down, and I'm going to erase that one because I wasn't happy with that one. So you can see the shadows now gone. Right, take it off, start painting, go back into layers. I'll turn him back on. Okay, I'm happy with that. We are nearly done. Okay, the next thing we're going to do, my camera battery died, so you'll just see the rest of the screen until the end of the video. Probably a good thing as well. I'm going to add a new adjustment layer, and in this new adjustment layer I am going to add an adjustable gradient because down here is too light. The light is coming from the building, so we need to adjust the lighting here. So I'm going to go to the bottom, I'm going to pull the exposure right down to a kind of happy amount, if you want to call it that, and then I am going to set the orientation. So I'm going to bring this in close together, and what we're going to do with this, we're going to match it up with that line. So round about there. Looks okay for me. Yep, that works. You can still see the shadows down here, you can still see everything else there. Next thing, I'm going to add a new image layer. I'll make this image layer available for you. I had to do this in Photoshop because currently at the moment Luminar doesn't have the ability for text. That's at the moment, so we'll just add this in here. So I'm going to click choose road and click open, and that will drop into the screen just there. And if I've done this right, these will match up, but I know this is the second time I've ran through this image, so it won't match perfectly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to the screen blend mode, which is about there. So you can see we're not too far off with this. I am then going into layer transform, and I'm going to move it down so that this line here and this line here roughly match there. So I'm just going to pull that down to around there and click done, and that's them roughly where they should be. I'm also going to pull back the opacity of this just to about there. I'm quite happy with that as it is. Next thing, and finishing touches to this image, are going to be a couple of adjustment layers. So the next thing is add new adjustment layer, and I am going to add a LUT to this. And the LUT I am going to choose is Candlelight. That just helps emphasize the yellows in this image. So that's us, we're nearly done. I'll just add a couple more adjustments up here to the sky. I'm also going to add, because you notice that this here is still quite light, that there can be taken from, we have the road dropped in, we have that adjustment layer. That there, we can add another adjustment layer to darken these down. But the way I'm going to add it for this image is add new adjustment layer, and then I'm going to go in here and I'm going to get into vignette, and I'm going to pull a vignette in to about there, roughly about there. Then I am going to edit the vignette, and I am going to use a mask for it, and a gradient mask, and I'm going to drag it up just to about there, leaving the gradient quite widely spaced out, so you can see it's dropped it down there. I'll rotate it slightly as well, just to about there, and I'm quite happy with that. The next thing, I'm going to add the same gradient up here, but how I'm going to do it is I'm going to turn off edit mask, and then I'm going to brush it in. So with this, I'm going to go paint. I'm going to make the brush quite big, I'm going to turn the opacity down, and I'm just going to paint there and then paint back in. Take it down there a little bit so that we've got that. So I have used two different masks edits on this. I've used a gradient for the bottom to give me more control, and then I've brushed in the top. For me, I am done with this image and I'm quite happy with it. I could go on, and again you could keep working and working, but it's to know when to stop. I could go on and add an adjustment layer and again put an Norton effect in. Just about there. Go back into my layers, go into the road and turn the brightness of them up. And turn every other layer back on. And what we'll do is we'll call it done at that. Hopefully you enjoyed that video, and hopefully you saw some techniques that you possibly wouldn't have thought of to create the elements in the image. It's fun, it's really good fun trying these images for yourself. And one of the things I'd like to ask is, I'm going to do quite a few of these creative edits. So what I'm doing is I'm going to Unsplash or taking the photographs myself and then creating images for them. So I have something in my mind already what I want to do. Except for this image here, I just went in and randomly chose some images and just to see what I could come up with. And this is where I'd like you to get involved. I'd like you to send me 5 random photographs from your own collection, so that with fresh eyes I can create something with your images. So the first time I see them is when you send them through, I then generate an image for that. I would like to try that to get you involved as well, but just so that it pushes what I'm doing as well. Because anytime I'm doing this, I'm looking for certain elements and I'm thinking, this is the image I'll need to take, or this is the image I'll need to take to get this, or I'll go into Unsplash. And I've put links to the images that I used below, and if you're going to use any images from Unsplash, please accredit the photographers that took them, because it helps them as well. But what I'm going to ask you guys is, if you send me 5 random images from your collection, over the next few videos I'll create composites from them, if you're interested in doing that. I have videos planned, but I've just had so much fun recently doing the composite images, I thought I would try and get you involved as well if you're interested in doing that. So what I'll do is I'll put details below of how to get in contact with me, and then I'll give you details on how to send the images through. I'll put the dimensions of the images up here so that you can see what you have to send, but hopefully some of you will be interested in that, just to see what can be created with your images. Do it yourself as well, but it's actually really good to see someone else's perspective on your images. Hopefully you got something from that video today, and I hope you enjoyed it. Although it was a long one, I hope you really enjoyed it, and I hope it's sparked some imagination with you and with your images. If you've enjoyed this video today, big thumbs up, and if you'd like to check out some more videos in the channel below and consider subscribing if you're not already a subscriber, that would be absolutely fantastic. Thanks again for watching.